Artem, welcome to Commerce Talks, live from the Seamless show in Riyadh. Now we are talking about my favorite topic, which is like luxury components or luxury goods, where you're active in. Can you tell the audience a bit what you're doing and what Lazurde is doing actively?
Thank you very much for having me. Lazurde is a company with a 40-year-old history. So we were incorporated here in Saudi. We are actually fourth largest gold jewelry manufacturer in the world, which we then distribute through wholesale channels, where we have 3,000 stores worldwide across almost 30 countries that sell our product. And retail, which we do through our own retail stores, mainly in Saudi and Egypt, as well as the franchise brands such as Tous that we operate for the moment in Saudi. Since 2009, we've been owned by a Investcorp, which is an American fund that specializes in luxury goods, and this all helped us to transform into a very forward and retail thinking company rather than from a wholesale, right? So our relationship has ended, but now we continue that journey in becoming a leader, not just across, let's say, MENA, not just across Saudi and Egypt, but getting into retail concepts across MENA as well as the world, right? So this is in a nutshell what we do.
And you said you're like a listed company. Can you share some numbers? So what kind of volumes are we talking here, or employees?
Yes. So we are actually the only listed company, a jewelry listed company in MENA region. So we do around $1 billion in turnover per year. And I would say close to around just over 1,000 employees. If you look at the overall, it depends how you count it. Yeah. So that's our scope.
And I know it's hard to describe like the market size, because it's very hard like to say, okay, when do we leave like the luxury jewelry market? But like from a volume perspective, on a global level, what kind of volume are we talking about, like for luxury jewelry items like above 100, 500 euros? Is there like a market number for that?
Honestly, I don't want to give you a number from my head, but a number has to be in hundreds of billions, because if you look at the value of jewelry today, right, it has been transformed from a very strictly occasional product into an accessories type, right? As well as an investment product as well, right? So today, jewelry market has experienced a growth, whilst normal retail has been going through a lot of challenges, right? So today, if we look at the retail and luxury retail in general, is the only one has been generally surviving since COVID. Whereas the values has been hit massively, right? If you look at some companies that returned to growth since before 2020, especially like at the likes of LVMH and Kering groups, right? With Tiffany for LVMH doing one of the best numbers that we see, Richemont with Cartier. So actually, where people the luxury market and jewelry in particular has been growing despite all the challenges that we've seen in the world.
And because you were naming like Richemont and Tiffany, are you in some areas competing with those companies? Do you go for the same money they are going for, or like for the same part of the income they are going for?
So the thing is today is that what the luxury brands was able to do very correctly, they're able to create the scarcity for their products, apart from the marketing hype, that brought the average customer outside their usual, say, salary brackets to demand for their product, right? So today, there is no more, it's very hard to segment your customer, especially for luxury brands, because the average income customer is aspiring to buy luxury items. People today are going more for value and brand and quality rather than just price and quantity, right? We're going back a little bit from the 2000 and early 2010s, where customers are happy to see H&M and Zara. They're like, okay, I'll buy more a lower quality, but I need that quantity. Today, they want to be able to show their status via brand that they're wearing. Same applies to jewelry. So we are, and then jewelry, especially if you go into certain products, you are almost selling similar items, you know. You have a engagement ring, right? So engagement ring, I could argue, could look very similar whether it comes from Les Urdi, Cartier, or another company, right? You could be potentially arguing that you're selling the same product. So yes, I would say that in some areas we are competing for the same customer, and including our competitors right down the line could argue that they're giving you the same product for a different value or perhaps for different customer experience, right? So the trick here for all of us is to understand how we can take, either do we go for each other customers or we keep going up in value, because there are customers that sell the same product even more expensive than Cartier, right? And they're able to hold their customer base because they offer them a value based on the intrinsic value based on their brand perception and the brand status.
But if I understand your business right, so you're like involved in many roles in the retail chain. So you're producing like for other brands jewelry, you're producing your own brands under your own product under your own brand.
Yes.
You're selling jewelry from your own brand in third-party retail locations as a wholesale business, and you're selling that in your own retail location.
There is some obviously catalog differentiation because the wholesale business, again, you need to differentiate it between different regions of the world. So you could be seeing a completely different product in America that we don't sell here in Saudi. In the southern part of Saudi, which has more taste for 21 karat gold, for example, they will be seeing a Les Urdi product of 21 karat there in these regions, but it will not be in stores. So there is catalog differentiation. It will have Les Urdi brand, but there will be different product being sold in different channels.
But the interesting thing is this jewelry market, and it is something where we are rich more was like super successful, like with Cartier and others. It's like it's obviously you have to create a brand and a product that is kind of decoupled from the ingredient price, from the material price, because you might even a very, very expensive bracelet for like 5,000 euro, the pure price of the gold is only like 1,000 euros, for example. And then you have to explain it with scarcity, with brand, maybe with the high quality labor that went into the product. So how do you do it? Because there must be, as you said, obviously many brands are trying to upsell now, trying to get into even more higher categories. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe you can go a bit into like the making process, like from the factories. Is it something which is hard to do, easy to do, hard to do at scale? Maybe to do high quality, but you are the brand director. So how do you create something that has so much demand that people are willing to pay a price that is way higher than what went into the product?
So very good point. And to start from the other side as well, you need to keep in mind that with Cartier as well, how much success they had with some of their iconic products. But you will also be surprised how many people with the disposable income to buy that product do replicate that product with the local jewelers or the workshops, right? So that's very interesting as well, right?
So you're saying instead of buying like the Cartier bracelet for 20K, they're going to a local jeweler and say, okay, I'd like to have this kind of bracelet, but I don't want to have it from Cartier. Can you do it for me like for 10K?
Yes. So because you mentioned this is happening a lot. It's happening way more than you think. And it's happening with not just with the people who can't afford the Cartier one, but they just don't want to spend the money, right? So you mentioned something very important and just spoke about it earlier as well. You first of all need to understand what business you're in, right? Are you in the value game? Are you in the price game? Or are you in the brand game? So 3 different things, right? So to me, if you were a workshop, you can be in the price game because you can do things very on demand because you don't have to have the big overheads, and you can give the customer the best price for potentially the same product, right? In our stores today, right, as over a period of time, we kept we went through the time where we kept dropping our average price. So as our average price kept dropping and dropping and dropping, our sales have been increasing, and also our margins have been increasing, right, as well. However, so what we're able to give the customer today in our stores is the variety. You go into Lazurdi stores, you can see colored stones, you can see your entry price jewelry, you can see your fashion products, you can see your animal products, you can do your wedding products, you can see vast variety of choice at relatively controlled price zones, right? Yes, we have higher ticket items, but we tend to be segmenting ourselves in a very middle positioning, right? But we give the customer variety.
But it's still real jewelry. It's not fashion jewelry. I could buy it out, but it's
okay. Zara maybe not a company. What we call fashion jewelry is your entry price gold accessories. Obviously, It's not Zara, but it is seen as accessory rather than a jewelry, even though it's made from precious metals.
Okay.
But in the case of, but I'm able to offer a customer, a returning customer, an option, right? So we also study our products and we understand that, okay, we have a collection, we have the demand, we need to expand. A simple example, we did the necklace, let's introduce the earrings. We did the earrings, let's introduce the bracelet, right? So you expand and you build on the information that you get from the purchases made. In the case of Cartier and other luxury, uber luxury houses, they're selling a brand, and in a lot of ways it works, right? But as I said, the problem is that today brand is the trend, and quality over quantity is a trend. Tomorrow we go back to volume, people wanting more stuff at cheaper prices. That's where this brand will struggle, and trust me, they do. The same comes with luxury watches. The same happens with even antiques. They go through these periods of times where the people are coming, and basically the market keeps fluctuating.
But watches you don't do.
No.
Yeah. Okay, I got it like from a material. I got it from a material perspective, but just to understand like your retail value proposition. So I can go to your store and pick like a colored stone, like an opal from an Australian mine, and then I say I'd like to please build me this ring with it, or please build me the bracelet with it. Is it this kind of jeweler?
Look, it's possible. We do. Provide this kind of services, but we do a more focus on the ready-made products. When I say color stones, it means it's already ready necklace, pendant, bracelet.
It's already built in a ring.
Yes,
okay.
but sure, we have customers that come and say, okay, I want this, I like these earrings, but I want to shorten them. Because we're so lucky to have our factories here, we're able to do pretty much whatever customer likes. But if you want to make a scalable business, you need to work on the ready-made products, right? And here is how we work to ensure that the assortment is right for that store, for that area, and so forth. And sorry, I didn't fully expand on the project, but as we also go back from the concept of where material is weighted and the price is given based on the material and potential workforce, you then introduce the concept of a brand. Yes, so we have a good example. We have an entry prices jewelry brand called Miss L, which is affordable jewelry between 150 to maximum like 800 euros. And there, it's majority pure, it's pure gold items, but done in a fashionable manner, right? So here you don't have diamond or precious stones to warrant a higher price point. So you need to explain to the customer why are they paying a higher price for a material, which is genuine material. So then it talks about educating your team, educating your customer through social media, that the techniques that are being used, the skill set required. You have influences that they're using your brand in order to build that brand, and obviously gain you a bigger audience. So you do it through marketing and through education. Yeah. Right? The store person needs to explain to you what kind of technique is been giving into this process, potential working hours required, and then obviously sell you that product.
Okay, I got it. I understand like the process and the value proposition. So I guess like Riyadh or the region here is like known for its gold markets. Like it's I guess for a jewelry maker, it's like the toughest market you can be in. So and some other person I was speaking with at our booth was inviting me to go to like a gold market, and for me, it's like overwhelming. You're seeing like, I don't know, 50 traders. Everybody has like lots of gold, which for me, it's very, very hard to, it's obviously a selection dilemma. It's very hard to figure out, okay, what's good, what's valuable, is it fair priced? Obviously, I don't look like a local, and I try to get like a good price for them. I guess you've been to many gold markets here. So how do you differentiate in this kind of environment?
Absolutely, we are very applicable to us because we have what we call gold souk, gold market concept. So we are now opening stores of Lazurdi in gold markets as well. Which are they're working on weights mainly, right? And very different product and very different, you work on volume, right? So this is one thing. But if you go back to mall and high street, your product line is different. It's mainly to do with design or precious stones, could be emerald, ruby, could be diamond, mainly diamond, right? And there you work on, obviously, you work on collections, you work on your explanation of your technique, you work on your precious stones that are involved, and obviously you talk about service. It's about experience that you get when you come, how you get treated. Don't forget that we give you a lifetime warranty. It's a relationship almost like a family. You know, we have people coming through generations, in Lazurdi especially, right? In Gold Souk, it's different. It's about volume. It's mainly to do with tourists. You're talking about... or a very conservative type of customer that deals more with the 21 karat gold, which is predominantly pure measured by weight. I like this necklace. It's 3 grams gold. How much the price you give, right? So that's how it is. It's a very, very volume driven business, because if you don't do the volume, you will not survive. Very thin margins, but higher volumes.
But still, you would not recommend me going there because then the margins are not so thin anymore.
If you're a customer, I do recommend, but it's a very specific type of product. You need to understand that it's very different from what you see in Europe, for example, right? So it's very pure gold items, you know. So you very rarely find good diamond products or good color stone products. It's very pure gold oriented, but you can try, and you definitely can try to haggle with them because you know the price of gold today, and you try to get yourself a better rate. And then when they know that you know the rate, they will probably give you a better discount.
I definitely have to see one of those gold markets, because that's actually where it all started. But now we are moving into like more sophisticated retail concepts, like stores where you have to be compared with like Cartier bracelets and so on. And now there's like one step further. That's why we're sitting together. It's like, obviously there's like now online demand been built for those products. So and I have not looked up any numbers yet, but if my understanding of the market is like, it's still 99% like offline, because it's such a trust involved in the purchasing of the product, especially the experience you've described. It's hard to sell online. On the other hand, I would expect, okay, there might be some gold influencers, maybe even rappers that do have like heavy jewelry, where people would ask, okay, where can I buy it? Which is like the perfect opportunity to set up like a gold market you've described, which is like more volume based. So can you give us a bit more insight into the e-commerce?
Yes. So let me tell you like this. The B2C market here in Saudi across retail is around 5% gain. If your business generates 5% of your revenue for big retailers, right? You're good. You're doing well, right? So even if you look at within the big franchise operators, let's say the market here divided between 5 to 6 big companies that manage most of the franchises, within themselves, the big brands do between 2 to 5%, and you are in a good situation. Yeah,
2 to 5%
of their total turnover, of their B2C turnover.
2 to 5% of their B2C turnover is e-commerce.
Yes, correct. So when I came to, the Lazurdi, everyone was under the same impression that, you know, e-com started with COVID. Everyone thought this is just to pass some time with COVID. And basically, when the COVID dies, there will be no need. So there'll be very little budgets, because here's basic budgets. And honestly, I think our e-com team with our CDO did an absolute miracle that now today, even with the infrastructure that in place today, it's doing almost 20% of our turnover. right? So the e-com business is doing absolutely insane numbers, and it's even limiting the
20% of the B2C turnover.
Yes, but which is still it's just big, still a big number, right? If you look at, I cannot tell you today from businesses that exist in high street that does the same percentage through online, and we don't operate on Hypers, we don't operate on Salesforce, we operate on the basic system today, which blessed, but giving us limitations. Have we been on a proper platform by now? You're talking about expectations through the roof. And this is what our e-com team is doing at the moment, doing fantastic work. We're going through migration soon, and I'm super excited with them, because what we didn't anticipate, right, also is that the impact that it does for our offline stores as well. I'll give you an example. So when I came, they were telling me about, the e-com price strategy was different. So they're like, people are coming and comparing the strategy. And I told my store team, I don't believe you. This is not true. How many people come and visit our store today, and how many people come to stores? Guys, don't give me excuses. So I spent probably a good month in a store, and I was absolutely astonished. Everyone is coming with their phone and say, I want this, I want this, I want this. This was
showing you images from Lazur online.
Yes. So I was super impressed, and I then realized, okay, guys, I'm wrong. This big learning curve for me. And what I was speaking about earlier as well is social commerce today for us is where the funnel starts, right? People are starting with our Instagram page or our other pages that we have, or through our website, then come to store, and perhaps then go back to online, and then completing the transaction the way that they feel comfortable with. But they're way more comfortable completing it online than we ever thought, because this is jewelry in the end, right? And our return rates, this is way less than anyone in the business. I come from garment retailers where in Saudi your return in store is around 40%, especially for dresses. It's because, traditionally the changing room wasn't used for it, and it wasn't allowed to be used, and then people don't always comfortable to use it, but the return rate was around 40. The return in e-com wasn't different. And to be fair, in Europe, again, the figure is around 30%. Yeah. Our return rate is way below 5%. And this take into account that
try people to return you fake products.
No. I thought about it. That didn't happen. But we have systems to catch that in place, and obviously there is everything goes through QC. Do you know? But I'm still so surprised, because I thought quality is up for perception, especially when it comes to diamond, right? So you will never understand exactly how the stone will look if you're not into the business, right? So if I tell you it's a SI, VS, or whatever, you as a customer might buy a diamond and think, you know what, it's not really that shiny, I want to return it. It's not happening. People are keeping the products, right? So today, social ecosystem is so important for us, because our communication is done via social media, it's done via our website, and then all our channels depend mainly through our communication through social media. People are asking about policies. Even though there's policies clearly based on the website, they keep asking this through Instagram channel, right? They keep asking about the quality of the product, even though it's mentioned through the link. They want to, and then I am sure also that the way that we merchandise the product online gives them inspiration on how to use it. Because you mentioned quite well, it has very rich gold history, doesn't have a very rich jewelry history, right? So people still new with the color stones, with the diamonds, new to the fashion jewelry as well. So they get inspiration from that as well. So it's so important to maintain the social aspect, the social commerce with e-commerce as well. And they both need to transition and complete each other really well.
But do you think this kind of e-commerce journey in the jewelry business could be brought to a level where you say, okay, let's enter a market where you're not so active? I don't know. Let's say Denmark.
Yeah.
With a brand that is not known there yet. Let's say Lazur Black.
Yeah.
Would you say it could work out if you have a nice landing page around it and trying to build some influencer campaigns around that people would buy? I'm trying to figure out where this kind of demand comes from, because people obviously, they're coming with a phone in your store, showing you the product. There must have been some intent to go to the store. So how do you release it?
Well, obviously we're quite lucky because for just because being such a well-known company in Saudi Arabia, right? Obviously we've been here in the market for 40 years. We're the market leader by both brand perception as well as the brand recognition when it comes to jewelry. So obviously people think about us and we thank you them very much when they think about jewelry. To go into a new market is always going to be challenging, right? And to build the campaigns from scratch, it is going to be quite interesting. We're quite lucky as well in Saudi and Egypt, is because here you mentioned rappers, but in Middle East, your best influencers to promote your product are the actresses, and the actresses are mainly Egyptian. We're very lucky that we can have one brand ambassador that serves the both markets, right?
The actresses even here are mainly from Egypt?
Not normally here, sorry. They are most known because the most operas, soap operas, and the movies traditionally came from Egypt since traditionally, the 50s, the 60s.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. So Egypt always had a very big cinematic culture. They have one of the biggest festivals in the regions as well. And until today, one of the best known actresses in the region are the Egyptians. So we're quite lucky with that because obviously we're very well known in Egypt as well, and we can use one ambassador to cover both. If you go into the Europe market, obviously you need to understand that the whole communication is different. You're talking about sustainability. You're talking about where the product came, right? You're talking about the whole sensitivity of you're more price sensitive as well. However, we have diamond suppliers today that already working on creating blockchain certificates for the diamond, so you can track the diamond life from the beginning. And I'm pretty sure that it will really help. It will help boost our business, for example, in the US, right? And I'm sure in the future, if we enter Europe as well. But you really need to study one by one because you have local laws and regulations when it comes to gold and who we can produce and how much you can sell. Some countries may not even allow a foreign company dealing in gold. But in reality, you need to first research. And social commerce today or social media today allows you to do this background research. There are companies, artisanal companies around the world that are small traders in jewelry that do very well because they're able to build that story online, right? And then complete it and give you the whole customer experience, even online, right? I know there's a guy in Tanzania, I think he's South African or British, I don't remember. But so basically, he started his own business, right? So he built this brand out of Instagram and then completed it with the e-commerce solution he has in place. And he gives you this whole luxury service digitally, right? And it's being done even in Saudi by local brands. It's even being done by all over the world. And they're able to compete because they build the story, they build you the designs, they showcase them, they see the demand, they see the clicks, they see the likes, and then they start producing them, sometimes even on ad hoc basis, on dropship basis, or they build their collection based on that. We, on the other hand, have to produce in advance, so we're always going to take risk, and we don't have this kind of flexibility that they have. But at the same time, we're more blessed with having the infrastructure in place that perhaps a sole trader will not, right? So at the end of the day, a customer expects in jewelry a full service and full after service as well. What we have in front of these guys is that we can take any product that we don't even that has been through all its life. We can come take it and repair it, right? We get full guarantee for the product that we give. Whereas the small companies, could face an issue with that, and might even a return process can kill them. We have that infrastructure in place.
Got it. You just mentioned that there's different regulatory or legal stuff around buying and selling gold. Now with the inflation peak we were seeing all over the world, I would expect there would have been some business impact because obviously you would have to adapt prices because many people changed the asset away from stocks into gold you say there's a couple of like jewelry that is like more on the value side.
Yeah.
So it's not about like how nice it looks, but how heavy it is.
Yeah.
So how did it work out for you?
So I think part of the growth that we've seen in 21 and 2020 and 2021 and this year as well is attributed to people understanding that if they are to gift or they are to buy, they would better buy something that holds value, right? I can tell you that definitely around the world, you got some big retailers in China as well. They're seeing the same trend as well. So people are going away from making risky investments into luxury that they know they depreciate into buying things that last.
Like I don't know, an expensive watch. So Rolex obviously did a good job, like in retaining the price, but you're not buying like a Cartier watch that might lose like 50% next year.
Correct. So you're not even. I don't want to use some of our competitors, but the companies that don't deal with precious materials, so they obviously would have been more affected as well. We today, even as I was saying, that we have today a entry price brands called Missel. It's fashion jewelry that is gold material, right? And I am on price competing with well-known brands that sell crystal or sell brass or sell copper, whatever jewelry made, right? So my job today, I would say that I need to be better at communicating this to the customer, is that you can go and buy something that will be worthless in 2 days' time, or you can come and buy from me and have to hedge yourself and hedge your money, and then potentially could be even worth more money than you paid for it in the future. So for us, it's been a positive impact, I would say.
It could be an interesting campaign. They'll get rid out of the risky stock market into the stable super jewelry market and even make your wife happy. Stuff like
this is what I proposed, but I was told to be careful in order to.
Yeah, it's interesting. So
not defame anyone.
Where's the growth coming from? Obviously, you said you're now in a private equity environment, and private equity is expecting growth.
We were we were in the private part, but obviously they have as we went public, they leave. So, but we're still in that mode. I believe that we're very profit driven, we're very results driven. So we're very forward thinking in that point of view.
But so you're looking like into a growth path. So
yes,
where do you think your growth will come from? Is it like expanding into new countries, into new product categories, pushing your e-commerce strategy? What's your most important growth initiative?
So many things, right? So first of all is updating and upgrading your product offering. So Saudi has went through the major shift of rejuvenation of so the customer became way younger, and the customer tastes have changed, right? So and they're buying more frequently, but they're paying less prices, right? So you obviously need to upgrade what offering you have in the store. The customer also, as we learned at that time, the customer is looking for value. However, it doesn't mean a lower price. So we will not be able to fool the customer with the lower quality for lower prices. It's not going to work, right? And some of our competitors are still in that mindset, and I think sooner or later it will be a big challenge. Because I've seen today, when I have exactly the same like-for-like designs, I upgrade quality, I sell more, right? And I did this test with one, and it's going to more and more and more, and now we're upgrading, right? Introducing new. There is demand for innovation. You're talking about use of animal. You're talking about use of special materials like lab-grown diamonds, which we thought, no one cares about this.
What is it?
Lab-grown diamonds. So diamonds.
Lab-grown.
Yeah. So even this, we did test trials in the country, and now we've seen a very, very surprisingly positive response from the customer. We launching full-fledged collections. So some of our competitors are entering into that field as well. But it's good. It's showing that the customer overall is very open to it. The customer is very young. You also see that obviously expansion into retail, more and more into retail, our own retail operation. So we went from having 3 stores to now we'll have 6 stores by the end of this year. And next year we're planning to almost double our network. We are opening, expanding our brand called Missel, as mentioned, Missel, which is entry price jewelry, which is your jewelry accessories, but they're gold. So we are expanding that sector that allow us to compete with the major European high street retailers that are not gold, right? So we are giving customers better value. And potentially you're talking about, not potentially, and obviously expanding our e-com business. And e-com business then has not just the same product, it has more, and it even goes into extra materials that we will not sell into our high street stores. By high street, I mean high street and malls. For example, brass-plated jewelry, we're talking about silver as well. And we use the e-com as well as a sandbox for potential expansion of the new categories as well. It's a very good litmus tape because it tells you exactly how maybe the customer, you have the right product, you don't have the right price. You have the right price, but you don't have the right product. So e-com, that gives you so much data that you might not necessarily collect it easily in the stores.
Okay, and then one other aspect of e-commerce we haven't touched so far is like, I understand that the B2B, B2C aspect is getting more and more important for you. But as you said, you're like in the wholesale business. There's lots of retailer reordering stuff from you. You see that jewelry B2B, jewelry retailers are more keen to order in a B2B way online. They're going like to your B2B shop and say, okay, that's like the 2023 collection. If you want to have those pieces which are limited, you have to order now, which is way easier to do than selling the way most likely you're selling right now, where people need to go with like the products, like really like real products to the retailers, showing them, and there's like somebody from the procurement side saying, yeah, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, I'd rather take this, because if you like turning this around and say, okay, there's so much demand of this kind of item here, order it now, otherwise you are not getting any production next year.
So let me talk to you about generally, especially about experience in Saudi when it comes to B2B. The majority of there's big players here that are predominantly B2B, whether it's wallpaper, whether it's electricity. Al-Fanar is one of the biggest companies that we have here that does electrical components. They have factories all over the world, including Spain, Italy, and so forth, right? You have companies that do with perfume. It's a multi-billion real companies. And obviously you have garment manufacturers, and you got us as well, right? With all definitely could benefit from B2B. I think B2B has been very slow in adaptation of digitalization. And I think that overall, that's where the biggest growth will go. I think that they didn't feel the need for it because of maybe the relationships that you had with the sole traders and the vendors. Maybe you could talk about that the workforce was not subject for the same rules of Saudization as in the high street stores. So they were very comfortable living in the old environment. But I think soon it will change. Also, I can tell you today, even from my side and B2B clients that I manage, personally, which is small, but overall as a company, you will definitely benefit because there is infrastructure in place that's been set up by the central bank that allows you to have paperless transactions and paperless relationship as long as you have a semi-decent ERP system with a good finance module, because you're able to onboard the customers. You can be able to do most of your verification checks online through the services the central bank provides. Go and visit them if you want to sign a contract, but it can be also done online. Yeah.
But this is focused on Saudi.
Yes, I'm talking about Saudi today, right? I'm sure Europe and even Dubai is already way more advanced than we are now, but it can be done, right? So infrastructure is in place already. So then the payment side is already covered as well. And then you build your, think about, you have companies that trade 5-6 SKUs maximum, right? You don't need to come out and see them every day and take an order from them. You have the HoReCa businesses, right, that get visited by 5 different distributors every day and they take orders manually, right? There is no need for this, right? They're really, you will be serving your vendors and you're serving yourself better by going into B2B digital system. And don't forget, what's good about Saudi, we're not a fine print business. You know, the Saudi legislation when it comes to commerce is always on the side of the little guy. If you think you're going to put some fine print and put somebody in a bad position, it never happened. I am today confident, always tell my team and the new people that come, especially from our side, you have to do everything 100% right, because if we do something wrong, there is no need for the customer to go to the Ministry of Commerce and complain. Because if they go, the Ministry of Commerce will take their side. So we need to make sure that we do everything is right in our place. So if you people say, okay, what if somebody receives them? I had a product item, I deal with a client that takes an order 1,000 pieces a month. They received one item and they damaged it. It came damaged. It doesn't matter, right? They get a call. It gets replaced the next day, right? So the same thing with the online business. Don't worry about that. Oh, what if this goes wrong? If you are a rightly managed business, you put your catalog online, you go live, you make sure there's right checks and balances in place to protect you and protect the vendor. But it has to be done digitally, right? Because today, it's such a labor-intensive business that you can save so much by going digitally. And it's not just applies to us, especially applies to majority of the markets here. And I'm sure this is where the big digitalization will come recently. Soon enough is B2B.
Okay, the only thing that's missing now for me today is visit one of the gold markets, but I've learned a lot already, and I'm really happy to hear that there's so much B2C e-commerce adoption in this market happening already.
Another thing I forgot to mention for us is live streaming. I remember 2 years ago I was in a conference and they were talking about China taking live streaming e-commerce being $300 billion market. And I thought at this number, I think the whole garment retail market of Saudi is 260 billion, right? So I thought at this number and I thought, wow. Today, we're already launching live streaming application that we already trialed and we're launching it to stores. And it's really interesting how we're starting obviously with our VIP and regular customers, but it can be rolled out to anyone. And it's interesting how keen they're to use it. They're really adoption rate here is very high, whether it comes to digital payment, whether it comes to social media. And I'm surprised how quickly people are coming up. And I think the live streaming will be another thing that will be seeing more and more with the B2C, because as people become more busy, and obviously more and more women entering the workforce and time becoming more of an essence, I think live streaming as well is going to be a big trend that's coming right now. And it's between both, because don't forget, if I do live streaming session in the store, the transaction is done from online. I give you a link to pay, the order comes through online. So again, it's one of the main focuses that we do about linking online and store together.
Very cool. Thank you a lot, Artem.